Hey everyone, I'm super excited to be jumping in with you. This is the Q&A session for the follow-up session we had this week with Earlene, which I'm really excited about. And continuing on with her dream method, and she's going to talk about that. And I know that that this time didn't work for several people, so we'll be sending out this recording. But we do have questions that people are always asking, and so Earlene's going to go through and answer all those questions. And for any of you who have questions, she'll be able to answer them if you have them in the chat or whatever, and she'll be able to bring you on. But in the meantime, I am going to turn over to Earlene and she'll continue with this. And I think you're all going to enjoy your time with her. Oh, Earlene, people were asking for the link to be able to get the book and everything. So make sure that you call out that in here so that they know how to reach you and to get all the information. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it all over to you. You're extraordinary. Super excited to be here and to have you be sharing this with our whole community.
Yeah, I am super excited to be here as well. And so thank you so much. And then were you going to turn me up, make me the host in case you get bumped off?
Yep, here we go. You're now the host.
All right, awesome. Well, I am so excited to be back here. And, there are lots of different things that come up for people as you start talking about really how do you take your side hustle to the next level? How do you get it to that place where you're ready to be able to leave that job that's been kind of holding you back, the things that you're working those long hours, you're spending a lot of time with someone else's investment, making someone else money, and there's more for you. And so we're going to recap what we talked about on Tuesday, and it gets back to the dream method. And so I'm just going to do a quick recap of that. And then, I'll be watching for any other comments or questions that come in, but I'll also just touch on some of the things that I know come up for people in general. And so we'll talk about that. And then I'll make sure that we get the link out for my, my workbook so that you can make sure you get that and you're able to go through this process on your own, set your space. But as we get started, we're just going to jump in and recap again. And so dream is just the 5 steps of dream big, recognize your roadblocks, elevate your energy, align with your purpose, and then mobilize your dreams. And so mobilize your dream carrier, actually, that should say. And so as we talk about dreaming big, it's really easy to have people just, tell you your dreams are unrealistic, that you can't do it, or they're in that place of believing for you that your dream should be something that's not yours. I know for me, one of the most impactful questions a coach asked me at one point is, are your dreams your dreams? Meaning, am I working towards something that is my dream, or am I striving to achieve the dream that someone else told me? And sometimes that can even be in the midst of doing you're working with a coach and they have set expectations of what you should want in your business based on their desires of what they want to see from you, as opposed to it being directly in alignment with where you're at. So taking stock of, is this really my dream that I'm striving towards? And at the point where it is, then you're ready to start looking at the next step. But maybe you've got dreams that you've set aside. I have a client I worked with a number of years ago, and her dream was to use art in her business. Well, for her, she was told by her well-meaning parents that if you pursue art, then you're going to be a starving artist. And that was her reality until she said, wait a minute, that doesn't have to be my truth. She's now created a very successful business where she is using her art. There was another client who couldn't see how she could make money playing the piano, so she wasn't willing to even try to learn. Well, sometimes a dream of playing the piano opens up your creative mind and allows you to have more impact in your business because you're fulfilling a side of your brain, that artistic side, that allows you to be more creative and opens up other things for you. So no dream is off the table. So as you go through that first step in that workbook, it is really dream. And, what are those dreams you've set aside, whatever they might look like? And then the next is recognizing your roadblocks. So as you recognize those roadblocks, again, some of them are the lies that others have told you. You can't do that. You can't, whatever they've said to you that's causing you to hold you back. I know as a little 5-year-old child, I was unintentionally told I'm not creative. You see, I failed scribble art. And this project sticks with me because I thought it was such a fun project, but I came in the next day and I had a sad face on my scribble art paper. And so even as young as 5 years old, I had that lie planted in my little 5-year-old brain that I wasn't creative. For anyone who's met me, they know I'm wildly creative, but it held me back in some areas when it came to writing and some of the things. It's just that ringing of, yeah, I'm not creative. So who knows what that roadblock is for you? But right now you're in that place of what are all the roadblocks, the things that are holding you back from that big dream. And then the next step, and this is one of my favorites, I say one of them because I have another one that's equally a favorite of mine, but elevating your energy. And that all comes through the power of gratitude. So I challenge you to sit down and start writing a list of what are you grateful for. And I worked with a coach a number of years ago, and when he was first starting out, he was living in a tin shed in the desert in Utah, 110 degree outside, and it was miserable. So he was challenged to go through this exercise and write down everything he's grateful for. And he initially resisted with, what do you mean? What are you grateful for? And it was, and he says, I'm living in a tin shed, basically homeless. It's 110 degrees outside, so it's even hotter inside. I don't have anything to be grateful for. But that coach didn't let him off the hook. And so as he sat there, finally he said, oh, wait a minute. I'm grateful for the pen I have in my hand. I'm grateful that I can use it to write notes. I'm grateful that I like the feeling of it. I'm grateful for, and before you know it, he had a long list of things he was grateful for. But more important than even that list of the things he was grateful for, all of a sudden he was open to possibilities. Now he could see what was possible. He wasn't stuck in I'm stuck in a tin shed in Utah, but instead he saw possibilities. He was able to start asking questions like, how can I? Or even one of my favorites is also, who do I need to meet? So you start asking in those empowering questions that allow you to now think of the possibilities. And so now you're seeing, how can I? Oh, wait a minute. I can sell this thing, and all of a sudden I've got the money to be able to fund this other tool that will make me go faster. Or someone just donated a paintbrush to me, and I found this canvas in the trash. Any of those kinds of things are all possibilities. But then you start talking about what you're grateful for that are the realization of the answer to all of the roadblocks that you had. And one of the ways that I encourage you to consider is by writing, I'm grateful in advance for the $1,000 that I now have to invest in this product. I'm grateful in advance for the supplies I need to paint this picture. I'm grateful in advance for, and the list goes on. Now, the reason you do that is that your brain does its very best to protect you. And when you have this big dream and you've got these things that are the answers to those roadblocks, you're overcoming those roadblocks, they don't seem possible if you're just saying, I'm grateful for the $1 million that's in my account. Your brain says, no way, sorry, that's not realistic. But as soon as you go and you say, I'm grateful in advance for X, then all of a sudden the possibilities are open. Your brain's not going to stop you. And so that then allows you to then step into the possibilities. And all of a sudden you're past those roadblocks and you're well on your way to moving in the direction of your dreams. And then the last one, and one of the second of my most favorite, is mobilizing your dream carriers. And as I shared the story with when Catherine was here, she was just brought back to that moment where she inspired that step, because many years ago now, I think it's 7 or so years ago now, her twins had just turned 14 and her husband suddenly passed away. She was left with a business, twins to raise, and she was in the midst of grief. And so in that moment, she was well on her way to taking a hedge fund public, but there was nothing she could do to think about continuing that forward. But what she had was she had an amazing community around her. She had partners who could start picking up the balls that she couldn't use she couldn't carry forward. She had coaches that were helping her through that process. And as a result of all of those people in her world, she was able to then carry that dream forward and allow it to continue. While she wasn't doing the work, she had her dream carriers that were carrying that forward. And so that was the moment that that inspired me to say, okay, who are my dream carriers? And so I've now surrounded myself with those people who will help either keep the dream alive in me enough for me to believe I can pick it back up. But even more importantly is, who are those people that can maybe pick up the ball and run it forward while I'm dealing with the grief and the loss, and allows me it to continue, my business to continue forward. And so that again is the recap of the dream method. So dream big. Don't let others bring you down. And actually your dream carriers, by the way, any of the naysayers, they're not your dream carriers. In case you were curious, they just are not. No matter how much you love them, how much any of those things are, they are not your dream carriers. And so as we look at some of the top 10 goals or questions that I get asked, and if there are others that people have that I can catch in the chat, then I'll answer those as well. But how do I stay consistent with your goals? And there's a few things that you can do to stay consistent. One of them is to make sure that you're really clear on those goals, and more importantly, on the why for those goals. Now, for me, I got started in creating my legacy business, and that went way back to over 13 years ago now. And it was the moment I received a phone call right after I had checked into the hotel in Oklahoma City. It was my daughter who said, "Hey, Ma, I think I'm in labor." What's that mean? I'm on the way to the hospital. I had to make a last minute urgent, quote unquote, urgent trip to Oklahoma City for my job. And I missed the birth of my first grandchild. So in that moment, that was the point where I started looking and saying, wait a minute, I've missed out on all these other things with my family. And so I then in that moment said, okay, things have got to change for me. And now as I'm moving forward, things have changed for me, but more importantly, I'm helping others make that be their reality. So some of it is getting really clear on what is your goal. What is the legacy you're looking to leave? I have a client whose vision, her mission is to unite and change the world, a very large legacy that she has. There are others who have, to touch the lives of 2 million women by the time that, her life is over, whatever. Your legacy may not be that big, but it needs to be that thing that allows you to be driven enough to desire to stay consistent with your goals. And the next is, what if my dream feels too big or overwhelming? You're in the right place. Because if it feels too big, the first step is to identify what's the next step. Sometimes we get so drawn into the place of feeling like we need to know exactly the path of how we're going to get there that we don't even start. And I know for me, God has been really clear that He gives me the next step and maybe the next two steps, but He doesn't give me all of the path. Because if I have all of the picture and I know exactly how to do it, I don't need Him in the process. And so if your dream feels too big, it's likely exactly what you're supposed to be doing. But the question is what's the next right step you need to take? Not how do I get from here to this really big dream that's way out here. And so some of it starts with getting back to what are those obstacles? What are those things that are holding you back? I know for me, a lot of clients do have struggles with their technology. I was working with one client at one point where she was so worried about the technology she needed 3 years out that she wasn't doing anything to sell the program that she already had so she could be making money now. And so in that point, she had gotten all of the free 7-day, 20-day, 30-day trials, and she was worrying about all of that instead of just selling her program because she had all the technology she needs. So sometimes all you need is very simple things. You need a roadmap that gets you to the long term, but short term, sometimes it can be as simple as a Zoom account, a Facebook account, and a way to charge people money. So start where you're at and take the next step, and then the next step, and the next step after that. And how do you overcome the fear and doubt, self-doubts? Yeah, that is a huge challenge. And what I can tell you is you can do anything if you believe you can. You can do nothing if you believe you can't. I love the Henry Ford quote of if you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. And so that's where you can choose to step back and look, one, what are all those things you've already, what are those challenges you've already overcome? Where are all the successes you have? What are the lies that you've been feeding yourself about, I'm not good enough? And then, at this point, maybe you're top in your profession and you're sought out by many. Well, that's no different than what you're going to be able to bring to your business to take it to the next level. And so again, one of the reasons that self-doubt, one of the other reasons that you have a community of dream carriers is they can help you see the truth about yourself. They can help you see the ways to overcome that fear and speak life and truth into you as opposed to allowing you to stay stuck where you're at. And what tools or resources should I use to stay on track? And, one of the most important tools you have is your calendar. Manage, and I don't like the word manage. I'm going to say budget your time. One of the most effective ways I found is to time blocks and be really very consistent with your tools or with your time so that you're getting on and you're taking the action steps you need to, and you set out that plan. So start with your tools of your calendar, having a Calendly account or some other way that people can schedule an appointment with you. With the Google Drive, and you've got all the Google tools. So a lot of the things that you may feel like you have, you have in Google. So you can use Google Sheets to track your contacts. You can use your documents to create, just track your steps. You can use the Google Slides. Here we're using Canva, but there are so many tools that you have at your fingertips. And so the most important piece of that is to get the tools you need now and have a roadmap that gets you to where you want to go. And so one of the biggest challenges I find with many clients is that they have so many tools that they don't know which ones to use. So my encouragement to you is get rid of everything you're not using. That's an energetic drain, and that's also keeping you off focus and keeping you from taking the action steps you need to. So I'm hoping that that helps with the answers to those questions. And so then the last is, I'm not seeing anything coming up in the chat at this point. I know we had a little bit of a challenge on the time frames and for people. And so if there comes back to being more challenges for you, or if you have more questions, then by all means, I would love to connect with you. And so I will make sure that not only the link to my gift, which is on my website, it's dreamupevents.com, and you can go get the free gift that I have that is the document, that workbook that will take you through these steps. Use that as a way to help you open yourself up to possibilities. And you can do it in as little as, a few minutes, or you can spend, a couple hours. Get yourself a nice cup of coffee, a cup of tea, whatever is soothing for you. Put on some nice background music, maybe light some candles, any of those kinds of things that helps you open yourself up to the creativity and the allowing for the possibilities of what's possible. And then if you're looking at this and saying, okay, I'm still in that place, I need a little bit more guidance, or I need some answers that we didn't get to here, I will also make sure you get a copy of the link, or a link to my calendar, so that you can schedule a 30-minute session with us. We'll have that conversation and help to look at what are some of those obstacles we can get you past. And some of it can be just getting rid of a bunch of extra things that you don't need, so that you have what you need now. And then down the road, you can have that roadmap that gets you to what you need later. So I hope that this has been helpful and beneficial for you. I know I really enjoyed being here with you. And the biggest thing is challenge yourself. Don't allow what others say to you to be the voice that you hear loudest. Hear yourself, hear the voice that you're enough. And more importantly, know that God sees you and He created you perfectly to step into the dream that He's put in your heart. If He gave you the dream, He will carry you to the point of reality. And with one other parting thought, that dream that He put on your heart is the answer to other people's prayers. So consider that and take those action steps so that you can start moving forward, and you can take whatever your side hustle is to the place of becoming the reality of what you desire to leave, the legacy that you're looking to leave. So go back to the workbook. Like I said, you will get, I'll make sure that Catherine has those links, as well as the link to my calendar, so you can schedule a call. I would love to be able to help support you to get to the next step. And I challenge you to commit to take the action steps as a result of what you said you were going to do. So I thank you so much for being here today. I hope that this has been beneficial. And as I say, I'd love to be able to support you with any other questions you might have. So feel free to schedule that one-on-one call with me. Get your workbook, go through the process, and step into the fullness of who you were created to be, because I know you were meant for more, and the world is waiting for you. So I look forward to seeing how you show up as a result of having been here today. Hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Bye-bye now.